Renowned psychologist Carl Jung says that until we are able of making the unconscious conscious, it will direct our life and we will call it fate. The more we are aware of our shortcomings, our flaws, and our struggles, the more capable we are of evolving, adapting, and flourishing. But introspection can be scary because it forces us to confront ourselves and take a look at things at our past that we are not equipped with the right tools to do so just yet. But as they say, the first step to solving any problem is acknowledging it. Today, Shay Erin, a registered holistic nutritionist, will take us on a journey to unfold healthy and unhealthy coping mechanisms. Shay is also an entrepreneur who works with a focus on bringing harmony to the mind, body, and soul. Shay, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. How are you?
Good, you?
I'm good.
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to dive in.
So, how's
That's
it?
a first.
Being excited?
To be here.
Are you excited to be here because you already know JC, you know what to expect?
JC likes to challenge a lot of my approaches, but I feel like me and JC have really good conversation. We've already talked a lot about these types of topics, and JC also has, like, sometimes we debate, and then he presents something, and I'm like, you know what, you're right, and I'll tell you. I'm like,
That's right.
I will tell him.
What I like about her, she admits when she's wrong.
Okay.
Because I'm open. Because I'm
That's funny.
I am open to the other approach, you know? Not everybody is right, not everybody is wrong. I don't really believe in a right or a wrong. I just believe in, like, everyone's raised a certain way, and so you have a certain belief to your core. And if my belief doesn't serve you, don't take it.
Do you think we're hardwired to be empathetic or not?
No.
No. Why?
I think you learn to be empathetic based on the environment that you grow up in. I think that when we're born, I guess that would be hardwired. When you come into the world, I think you're born with empathy. And then through whatever life brings your way, you kind of will take a turn. Maybe you stop being so empathetic. I think everyone feels empathy when they're safe.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that empathy arises. Some people are so stern and so cold-hearted, and they're very strong in their opinions, and then they come around someone who allows them to be that way. Usually people who are that way and present themselves that way is that they've spent their whole life defending themselves, and then they're presented in an environment where it's like, I don't feel like I have to defend myself. I feel like I'm heard for who I am. They oftentimes will become empathetic in those environments.
But I feel like it also throws them off because if you're so used to being, and that's what they say for people who are used to being in toxic relationships, when they come from toxic households, and we talked about this in another episode, that when you come from a disruptive household, that pattern is so familiar to you that you can't read the red flags, you don't see the signs. So when you get into a healthy relationship before you are done healing and self-reflecting, it's not interesting and it doesn't feel right. It feels unfamiliar, and that's where change happens, when you're out of the comfort zone. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. I think that change can only take place once you stop prioritizing the feeling of numbing. I think that change comes with uncomfortable emotion. It's going to make you doubt, and it's going to make you want to go backwards and then go forwards and then go backwards. And it's like this dance. I think a lot of people look at other people's lives, look at other people's relationships, and they just want that immediately. They don't want to take the steps in order to get there, and so they stay in those comfort zones where it's uncomfortable. Speaking of, like, toxic relationships and what you were talking about, the adrenaline that comes
It is
with,
a rush. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
The mind associates that with love.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're giving me attention, but it's through well, in your case, what you're talking about, a toxic relationship, it would be neglectful behavior or maybe even abusive behavior. The heart and mind don't really know the difference in that instinct until you train the mind to pick it up.
And then there's a sense of accomplishment, you know, when, like, the guy's
That's
who's
your inner
always
child.
mean to you is nice to you, and then it's like, oh, I fixed him, I changed him.
You didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't. You did not. There's no fixing or changing anyone. They have to do that themselves. I think that the urge to fix anyone comes from a place of you then associating that with being enough, because you're enough. You were enough to have them change. It has nothing to do with you.
Because you're associating your self-worth with other people's actions and based on how they're perceiving you.
Yes.
And JC, you're a guy's guy, and you have a lot of male friends, and she was talking about, and you're laughing, you're going to come at me, maybe, I don't know.
No, I'm laughing. You guys are always afraid of me.
We're not
Maybe
afraid.
I should shave my. Is it the beard? What is
No,
it?
no, we're giving you a safe space. to
So
express.
I'm a guy's guy and a guy's girl too.
Okay, there you go, ladies.
She knows. She knows.
You have
Am
to
I
get that in
supportive
there.
or not?
You are. He's very supportive. He cuts
Yeah.
the shit. I'll often call JC if I'm like, listen, this is what's happening. Tell me the truth. Like, because he's a guy's guy.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, this is what's happening. And I'm like, perfect, thank you. I wouldn't have thought of it that way. You know? And you have to be able, like, once you identify, let's just stick off of what you presented. You've identified you're in a situation that is no longer serving you. You're aware that you have patterns that need breaking. What you need to be aware of is there's a lot of blind spots. You've only become aware of a certain emotion in a certain cycle, but then there's those blind spots that you have to identify, and you're going to continue to relive them. And when you're continuously reliving those cycles, that's when you need to start asking questions. When your friends are stepping in and they're like, you sure? Those are like guardian angels almost that are like sent your way that are like, hey, like red flag. Aww. Oh, he wants to claim all
Can
that.
you see the, can you see the halo? We can, there's a halo.
He claimed that. Yeah, he's.
Listen, I got all kind of compliments in life, but guardian angel, I
I
didn't
mean,
get
you
this
claim
one.
that one
That's
yourself,
perfect.
but you can take it on. But yeah, so you'll get those people that step in and you'll be very resistant to it. How do you know what's better for me?
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't want to look at myself and admit my flaws and blame whatever it is, if it's my parents,
There's
if it's
also a
myself.
way for your friends to tell you you're in the wrong. You
Yeah.
know, like if you just sit someone down and you tell them you're in the wrong, they're not gonna like it. But if you start asking them questions that you'll drive them to analyze it themselves that they're in the wrong, then they will say, "Oh, I'm wrong. Thank you for having this conversation with me."
Yeah.
Never try to be the person who's trying to show them the right things. Just like lead them to it. So ask questions like, okay, I'm so excited about this guy, man. Last night, blah, 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 blah. That's what happened. These are the details. So asking those questions, like, what is it exactly that you're looking for now? Okay, I'm looking for this. Do you think out of the guy's actions, this guy has those stuff? Can he offer this stuff other than the cuteness or whatever? Yes and no. Okay, what's the yes? What's the no? And then you're just asking questions. Never give a conclusion. And then they will end up with a healthy conclusion and they will say, thank you for having this conversation. If they say, thank you for the advice, you didn't do your job right as a friend. Because you're not smart enough to give an advice, but you're good enough to ask questions. And we all know what's good for us. We just need to have a conversation with ourselves and
subjective,
ask the right questions. And if we can't have this conversation with ourselves, our friends should be the person who's asking the question. So that you always want to have a friend, like ask so many questions.
I think also a really good place to, as a friend, when someone comes to you and they're ranting or they're sharing, don't just assume what they need. Ask, do you want me to listen or do you want advice right now? Because they'll often tell you that. Because that's the other thing. If somebody wants advice, then go in and be like, ask the questions. Ask the questions, approach from that manner. But if you assume that they're coming to you with
For a
that
solution,
entitlement,
yeah.
like you can solve their life, they're going to be immediately defensive. And even I find that sometimes, just with working with your intuition, you learn to trust yourself a lot on the decisions you make. And so most of the decisions that I make, if I move forward with a decision, I've thought about that decision and it felt right to me. And it won't align with everyone, but that's what your wise mind is for. So your wise mind is when you take your conscious mind and your heart and you meet it in the middle. A lot of practices, especially in therapy, they focus just on the conscious mind. And it's like, what is right? Forget the heart, use your logic. Humans are not wired that way. We need to allow soul into the decision. And so when I'm making a decision, some other people might be like, I don't agree with that decision. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
I don't fucking care. You know what I mean? Because that felt right to me.
Exactly.
And in turn, that's going to teach me a lesson.
And you're doing it for you, not for other people.
So when I go to my friends, I'm like looping this around to what he was saying, and I share this, when they're like, why'd you do that? Well, I don't understand why you did that. And I'm like, boundary. I didn't ask for your opinion. Respectfully.
Ooh.
And if you have an issue with me placing that boundary out of respect, I understand you're coming from a place of love for me, but you need to understand that I will ask you to insert when I'm sharing. You know, and I've had to learn that. I've had friends tell me that too. Sometimes I'm like so quick because I love them and I want them to be okay.
Start diagnosing them and shit.
Exactly. And I remember,
Discouraging.
you know what? JC called me on that once and he was like, why are you telling me what's wrong with me? And I was like, you're fucking right. Because he was telling me something. I'm like, why'd you do that? And he's like, did I ask? And I'm like, yeah, call me on it. Like,
she
I
gave me a
cared.
diagnosis. She gave me
Oh.
she gave me a name for my sickness.
I wanna
and a
know.
solution.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, she did.
When was
I'm
this?
like,
What was the
second.
diagnosis,
One
please?
second.
Please.
Yeah,
I'm sure
I-
Do you
everyone
think I
wants to
remember?
know.
Do you think I
Oh
remember?
my God,
Exactly,
come
exactly.
on. But that's something I wanted to touch base on, and that's why I said guy.
So yeah,
It's
you were
because-
asking questions.
Yeah, it's
She
because
interrupted you.
No, I love this. But you were saying something about numbing, and that like it light bulb immediately in my mind because guys, I'm not saying guys more than girls, but from what I've seen sometimes, and you're a guy, you can give us some insight on this. Instead of doing that uncomfortable self-reflection, they numb themselves with things like alcohol, like sleeping around, like food, over exercising and going to the gym. In your experience, like, what is the relation?
So you're saying that guys numb themselves with sleeping around?
For example, because they
And
don't want to look
alcohol.
into what they're doing wrong, for example, in relationships.
I don't think that's what a guy's thing. Numbing for people is doing this stuff.
Yeah.
It's not only for guys.
But
I
in your
agree.
experience, why do guys like do that?
Guys needs numbing when they're hurt
Okay.
and when they're going through stuff, because that's the first stage of getting over it.
Okay.
You can't just get over it. No one is strong enough to have a heartbreak or big problem and just go after 10 minutes. Okay, I want to sit now, have a conversation with me and fix me, or have a conversation with a friend. No. The first stage is really
He's a
painful.
piece of shit.
The first stage is really painful. You're really angry. You're really emotional, and you can't not allow yourself to be emotional. You have to be emotional, but don't let this stage to take half of your life. Put a time. I'm taking 2 days to be emotional, angry, pissed at this, and pick the numbing technique that you want to pick. You want to just drink those 2 days, smoke weed, talk to friends, call, go out, clubbing, music. It's okay. Get over it.
Okay.
But don't spend the next 10 years of your life just trying to numb yourself, But I don't think it's a guy's thing to
I
numb
think it's
themselves.
everyone's.
At the end of the day, we're sleeping with women. So
Yeah.
we're finding women who wants to numb themselves too, and
Yep.
we're all numbing.
It's
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah.
It's the same for both genders. And I think also,
We're all numbing.
yeah, it's safety, right? So when you're going through, we'll follow your example of breakup, you feel unsafe. Like every human's desire is to feel safe. And whether you've tapped in and you're like, this is what makes me feel safe, this isn't what makes me feel safe. For instance, sleeping around.
What makes you feel
And-
safe to numb? Like, let's say a chaos happened. I'm gonna ask you this question too. Like, a chaos happened. It can be a heartbreak, or someone fired you, or you lost a friend, or God forbid someone died, and you're really like emotional. You're really hurt. You're blaming God. You're blaming life. What is it that you do to? What's the first stage look
The
like?
first thing I do is I don't blame God.
Okay.
I thank him.
Good.
Oh, interesting.
Because every single thing that happens in your life, no matter how challenging it is, you have to have faith that that is happening from a higher power. Like that is being sent to you as an opportunity. The second thing is, I'm going to tie in what you originally said. When you identify those environments and that addiction to that thrill, you can't unsee it anymore. I used to be that type of person that's like, I want to sleep around.
Oh.
I want to party till 3 a.m.
Oh,
every
that's a
single
judgmental.
weekend.
No, it's not a joke. I'm
No,
surprised
that's
she's brave
okay.
enough to say it. I respect
No,
it.
yeah, like I needed to numb. Like it's like you numb, and I think that
Did it
everyone.
help? Did it help?
No.
Not even temporarily.
Not even to know. It doesn't help.
And this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to answer your question.
Yeah.
So, once you identify that that is a self-sabotaging cycle, it is no longer enjoyable. So at that time, I think I was like, this made me feel empowered. That empowerment leaves after a while. And it's not real empowerment. It's more so like, it numbed me. But that's okay. I don't judge myself for that because everyone needs a numbing agent to survive. It's a survival kit thing. So for instance, when I would be working with clients, we would often work on this in eating disorder recovery. We had to identify their coping mechanisms. And I would start by having them write a list of what they consider a healthy coping mechanism. And usually that looked like mindfulness, meditation, gym, spending time with friends, cooking,
Painting.
yeah, exactly. And then I'd have them make a list of all of the coping mechanisms they currently use that they would not consider healthy.
Oh, interesting.
And usually that involved, I won't name them all, but like smoking, sex, drinking, phone, like screen time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Sex is healthy though. You burn calories.
Yeah. Everything is intention based.
Yeah.
But yes, I will validate that for you,
He
JC.
wants doctors to recommend it.
Yeah, he wants the science. Submit your PubMed studies.
Write his name on a doctor's slip. That would be interesting.
So when I would do this, I would have them write out all of those coping mechanisms. And usually your response to that is you write that down and you feel shame. You judge yourself. And you're like,
Guilt.
how did I get here? Remove that. So we're going to take that and we're just going to chuck it outside because you're a human being. And everyone at some point in their life has this thing that they do that is not like great for them, but it's a survival kit thing. So then we go into that checklist and I say, place a star beside any of those coping mechanisms that you feel are completely essential right now. They're a part of your survival kit. So it could be sleeping around. It could be dating apps. Like people get addicted to dating apps. It could be Instagram. It could be whatever. The minute they put a star, there's no more judgment to be placed on that coping mechanism.
But can an unhealthy coping mechanism be essential to you? Like, is
yes,
it okay?
That's what I'm saying. It's
Okay.
a survival kit
Okay.
thing. So, okay, we'll talk about myself. I have a problem with screen time. It's like a thing. I struggle with it when I need to numb. My phone is my numbing agent. It gets high, and on those days, I'm aware. I'm like, okay, I check in. I identify that day. Is this a part of my survival kit today? Yes. There's no judgment to be placed. Am I drinking water today? Get a glass of water. I focus on other areas of the life. So what we do when we make that list is we look at where those stars aren't. So let's just say they write screen time and there isn't a star there. Okay, we're going to start replacing things with that coping mechanism. So every time you have a desire to numb in that area, we're going to do a less self-destructive thing. Now, I'm not saying screen time is self-destructive all the time, but it depends what they're consuming, right? Especially in that circumstance. So that could be replaced with painting. It could be replaced with cooking. It could be replaced by anything they put in the original coping mechanism list. And what this does is it creates the version of you that you view your higher self as. You always want to chase your higher self. The minute you lose sight of that, you're no longer living in alignment with who you truly are. You're living in wounding. You're living in the subconscious mind. So when I'm going through a hard time, I thank God because I know it's happening for me. And I identify what's in my survival kit right now. That's the first thing I do. If screen time's in my survival kit, again, I don't give a fuck. I don't have to explain myself to you because I know for myself that that's what I need to feel secure. The next thing is, what can I do? What can I not do right now?
Oh.
I'm not going to go sleep around because I already can access, because I'm in alignment with my future self, how she's going to feel. So even if I have that, I'm not saying I don't have a desire. We're all human beings. I have a sex drive. Like, you know what I mean? Like I have a sex drive. But I know that Shay 3 weeks from now is going to be sitting there going, why the fuck did you do that? Because sex is an energetic exchange as well, especially for women. Your womb really houses a lot of energy. That's your sacral chakra. So you're going to need to really be aware, like sex can be really healing, but it can also be very damaging.
Long term.
Yes.
I read this in an article. They were saying that so we compare. Subconsciously, we compare. So the more guys you sleep, and we're not shaming anyone here. There's no judgment. But it's just like biology, and experts say that the more people you sleep with, the more you're going to start to compare. And when you sleep with someone, you form like some pheromones and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a hormone release.
They react together. So the more that it happens, the less that connection is going to happen for you, and the harder it is to build an actual connection with the next person you're sleeping with, because you're not comparing him to one person or to 5 people anymore. You're comparing him to 10 people.
This statistics for men and women, or for just women?
It's for both, but for women, just like she was saying, it's just hardwired biology. It's a more of an emotional experience for us. And I think women tend to compare a little bit more than men do. I don't know if I'm right or wrong.
I mean, I don't want to say no to science. I'll just speak from my own opinion and like my personal belief. I think that when you get to a place where you're ready, like, this isn't saying that if someone's been numbing themselves with sex for years, that doesn't mean that they're going to get into like a really healthy relationship and be like, you know what, you're nothing like the 600 other women that I've slept with or whatever, however many they have. So anyways, so basically, in that case, I think it's wherever you're ready to heal and if you have self-acceptance.
Yeah.
I also think it's your intention. Like, I have friends who sleep around and they are so okay with it. But that's what I'm saying. It's not a part of their survival kit. For them, it's like they align. It's all about your intention in life. So if I'm never going to say I'm celibate and I'm not doing anything. I'm celibate. No. Because if I meet someone and it feels right, I'm following that intuition. That's me acknowledging myself and being like, I honor you. Do it. You know, I give you permission to trust yourself. But if somebody's constantly going back on that and they're like, I shouldn't be here right now, I'm still going to do it.
Okay.
Then that's where the wounding happens.
Yeah.
That's
so can you finish your numbing technique?
Yes.
So you name 2.
You name 2.
Okay.
And
just
then
so the audience doesn't get distracted.
Yeah.
So let's finish them.
Yeah.
And maybe you can learn something.
So you name 2, and then you remove judgment from those 2. So the 2 that have the star beside them, let's just say mine is screen time and going to bed late. Okay, whatever that is. I remove judgment. I'm not focusing on changing those right now. Those are actually going to be priorities in my life. When I feel like going to the bigger ones that cause more damage that I've identified in my own life, I'm going to go to screen time and I'm going to go to those because I know that that is going to help me for the moment. And then I'm also going to loop in those new coping mechanisms that I'm accessing from the list above that we made before, which is like meditation, painting, cooking, whatever it may be. You're going to replace old coping mechanisms with those new ones. You're going to want to write this down and you're going to want to like put it somewhere that you see every single day. You need to learn who you are again.
Mm.
A lot of people they blind themselves from who they are because they feel shame. Like, drop the shame. Who are you feeling shame for? Yourself. No one else is like going about their day every day, oh my God, I cannot believe Shay looks at her phone. No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
It's just me. And I'm in my mind like beating myself up. Like, no one cares. It's really you against you. So you got to go from you against you to like, take a seat. Like, sit with me. Let me talk to you, to yourself. That's where like therapy comes in. That's other things, but that's a start. So that's where I would start if you were looking to change from in a stressful.
Beautiful, very nice. So how long do you think the numbing should last?
It's human, as long as it's meant to. Like, I mean.
Well, but if you let yourself just like.
Oh, the numbing. I thought you meant the struggle.
The numbing.
Sorry.
Because you do the numbing, that's the first stage, and then the second stage is fixing the solution. Now we need to actually take action. Fix
You are
the
taking
solution.
action.
Yeah, I get it.
That's
but
what I
the
would
numbing
say.
is like an easy activity to do.
No, it isn't.
Well,
No,
I
but
disagree.
you know how we said there's an unhealthy coping mechanism that may be essential, but then you replace it with the good one. So
you're asking
that
the stars.
unhealthy one.
The stars, when do you address them? You will naturally be ready. You'll know. So there isn't a timeline. I would never see a client and say, in 3 weeks, you better be ready to face these stars.
But 10 years, for example, is that?
No,
that's
that's
not
a red
okay.
flag. You haven't been
can't
doing the
even-
work.
Yeah, but
you
you
haven't
can't
been doing
also
the work.
let people just like, keep on numbing. I'll simplify it for you. So let's say, by example, this person got a heartbreak. They're numbing themselves. Now they're doing maybe a couple healthy things, spending some time with family to distract themselves from thinking too much about what happened yesterday. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. You need the distraction for a couple days. And these are the numbings. But then after this, you need to get back to being productive, be a good person, pay back, whatever. How do you get yourself to go back
You're not
there?
going back. That's what I'm saying. The goal with healing is that
Recover,
you don't
recover,
you
not go
don't,
back. Recover.
But that's the thing. What I'm saying is this. When that chaotic situation happens in your life,
Okay.
you're never going back. You're only going forward. So what I'm saying is the numbing stage is a part of you moving forward. The numbing
How
part
long
is a
this should
protective.
last? You just let people to numb as long as they want?
No, that's what I'm saying is that if you apply healthy coping mechanisms within that numbing, eventually you can no longer numb because you're always going to numb a certain area of your life. You're never not going to numb one area.
By
It's just
average, how long? Like, should I know that it's healthy? So it took 2-3
You'll
weeks.
know.
Oh yeah, it's still healthy.
You'll know when it's unhealthy. You'll know.
Let me make it personal.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask you a question.
Yeah.
I'll put myself out there.
Yeah.
I had a very bad heartbreak. It was not a messy breakup at all. It was the most respectful way that two people can part ways. I was devastated. I was so heartbroken. And this is to answer the question you were asking about before, like, what do you do? For me, what I've always done, it was just an unconscious coping mechanism for me was working. Whatever it is, I like what I'm working on. I don't like, it's just work. Let me put myself to work. That's how I avoid things. That's how I defend myself and whatever. So I worked myself to death, and of course I avoided relationships. I avoided meeting people. Even if I met the right person, I don't want to get hurt again, so I'm not just going to go down that road. And then 3 years down the line, like, oh, I'm lonely. I'm working my ass off. I'm so exhausted, and all I want is a shoulder to cry on or someone to congratulate me for my promotion. It's like, I need it, but I didn't realize that for 3 years I was numbing myself. And I don't know when, like I said, it just happened.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to explain to the audience. Where do you think you should tell yourself, okay, we need to recover now, actually
Like
recover.
you want me to provide examples, you mean?
When it's,
Like a time
it's
frame,
time
maybe.
frame. Like, should it be like this numbing, like this primarily solution for your heartbreak should be like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then after this you need to make a plan. How can I recover, not go back
Okay.
to original? How can I recover and be better and improve?
I understand what you guys are saying, and I understand your intention with it. What I'm going to say is this. You don't want to be self-sabotaging yourself ever. So I think we're getting self-sabotaging and numbing mixed up. And that's what I'm saying is that heartbreak will last a number of years, and believe it or not, it has nothing to do with that breakup. So your
No, it was my
3-year,
ego. It was my ego.
it's your ego, it's your
Yeah,
inner
it was
child.
definitely my ego. And inner
but
child
why
trauma.
we're saying it will last number of years? It will if you let it.
That's what I'm saying. You need to address the things that are in the way. So
Yeah.
coping, overworking, whatever. If you find pride in your work, pull that confidence. How do you show up at work? Okay, I'm I stick by my word. You're going to apply that to how you're going to heal this heartbreak. You have to identify, 1, there's a heartbreak. 2, I'm going to therapy. I need to talk. I need to understand what happened.
I didn't want to talk about it because I was too embarrassed.
So why am I embarrassed?
But you
Where
can't
does
you
that
can't
come
you can't
from?
ask yourself those questions in the day of or the second day. You're just too
but
emotional.
It was 3 years with me.
No, but we're talking.
You'll get to a point in your life where you can.
Yeah.
Because
like,
I will, sorry, I hit the mic. I understand where you're coming from, and I will be a bit vulnerable. So I went through a breakup in my teens. Girl, it was rough
in your teens.
in my teens.
It's
and
harder. It's harder when you're younger.
I'm
you just thought to be so emotional. That's why.
So I ran through a breakup. This is how I just
No,
recorded.
seriously, you're a teenager and going through heartbreak. Seriously?
Yes, it happens.
JC.
Your first
Okay.
heartbreak is usually in your teens.
So I went through a breakup in my teens. And it lasted 3 years.
yeah, there you go.
Okay.
See?
At that time,
Did you have an emotional class at
Let
the
her
school?
talk.
Like, no, seriously. Did you guys, like, when you used to go to school, like, whatever you're studying in Canada, right? Obviously.
yes.
So did you guys have, like, how to be emotional class in the school or, like, how
Maybe.
to cry?
Yeah. I think that's
think
where
so. Sounds
you
like it.
you should have applied to that one. I think that's where you missed it. Yeah. It's
love
okay.
her. I
I'll give you a
love her.
hug after it. We'll exchange the
Seriously,
energy.
like, did you guys have a meditation class when you were 5 years old?
Probably.
You had
Yeah.
a
Maybe
heartbreak
if they did, they would
you
have
were
been
asleep.
equipped.
as a teenager. You had a heartbreak.
Yes.
So you fell in love when you were a teenager.
No. That's not what I said. I had
There's
a
a
heartbreak.
difference.
So heartbreak with who?
With, at the time, my partner at that time.
Okay, so how did your heart get broken if you weren't
So
in love?
this is what I'm explaining. So at that time, I believe, this is why I'm saying it has nothing to do with the relationship. I experienced rejection. I experienced being walked away from. Abandonment. All of those issues came forward. And I spent that first year, it was scary. Like, all my loved ones were like, is Shay okay? Like, what is happening? Is Shay okay? Like,
You can-
what's
you can hug.
happening? It's okay. You can join. I know you want to, but anyways.
The hug?
Look
Yes,
at him. He's like,
I know.
"The hug?"
You're like scared.
The
You can
hug?
move in.
No.
You don't like. You're doing
No.
good. You're doing good.
You're doing good. She's rating me.
With your
Dude.
emotions.
I acknowledge.
I acknowledge your presence.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Back to your topic. The
Yes.
first year.
So
Easy on the microphone, yeah.
sorry.
It's like,
Yeah. I'm
so
sorry.
much emotions. Poor
Um,
microphone.
The first year I was unrecognizable. The second year I went into numbing. It took me a year to go into like this when I was sleeping around. The third year was when I started to come out of it and was like, what am I doing? And that's when I went to get help. Then I went through a second heartbreak. This was my first love. I went through the second heartbreak. That day of, and you're saying this, the day of, you don't think about it. When you've trained your mind to, you do. You get to a place where, because if you think, okay, I've had this one tough experience. I'm going to get over numbing and I'm going to move on, and this is never going to happen again. Life is hard.
Oh, yeah.
You are going to get hurt. And if you spend your whole life avoiding hurt, you will not live. You will not
You won't
experience.
experience anything.
You need to equip yourself with a little toolbox. And I have this little toolbox, and when I feel a certain emotion, I reach in and I'm like, what's the tool for this emotion? And I can't give you that answer.
That's what
It looks different for every person. And so what I'm saying is your time frame, when I was 16, it was 3 years. Today, I could compare what I'm going through today versus what I was going through when I'm 16, trade those experiences and give this experience to my 16-year-old self, and she would probably run away and never come out. Whereas now I'm like, I'm okay. I'm going through a lot. I'm healing a lot, but I'm okay because I have the toolbox to reach to. I've provided myself that.
Yeah.
You have to provide yourself that. You have to do the inner work. You have to, whether that be talking therapy, whether that be, it's going to be a bunch of different things.
Or just admitting the part that you play in this. And then it's like, I can't focus enough on what you said, that it's not about the relationship. It's not about that person. It's about,
not at all.
It's also about the trauma and like the trauma it's bringing up from your past. It was a trigger. It was
I'll tell
reminder.
you right now, your numbing mechanism, like anything that, I'm sorry, I'd hit the mic. Anything that is like something you go to is a reflection of your inner child.
Yeah.
How you handle, you'll often see grown men and women, and you'd think, well, at their age, they must have adapted it. And something traumatic happens, and they freak. And it's like a temper tantrum. They're hitting things, they're screaming, both men and women. It happens in both.
Or just like crying uncontrollably.
They have not addressed their inner child.
Yeah.
That's an inner child response. That's your like, you become everything you knew how to cope when you were a kid.
And you're reliving like the trauma again and again and again.
Yeah. Until you identify how to take care of that inner child. So when you're saying, I feel shame, I wouldn't say, I validate your shame. I would say, where does that shame come from?
Why? Yeah.
When you think into your past, who made you feel shameful of vulnerability? Who made you feel shameful? Why do you fear abandonment? And you have to work, and that's when it becomes not about the breakup. And so that's what happened is I finally went to therapy after 3 years of this breakup. We never talked about that person once. I literally think I went in and said, I had this breakup. And she was like, yeah, next page. So what happened in your childhood? What happened here? What happened here?
Because that's the root cause of everything.
Yeah.
So how do you cure the inner child?
How you
like,
welcome?
let's say,
How you heal the inner child.
yeah. How do you, like, let's say you're, by example, like do you have a brother?
No, a sister.
Perfect. So let's say your brother gave you, said something that really hurt you when you were, how old do you start feeling? How old are you when you start feeling? Like 4 or 5, like usually the person?
Straight from birth.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say he hurt you when you were like very young and whatever. How do you move on from this? Do you like tell yourself, oh, I didn't deserve this comment, or do you forgive this person?
This is actually a good time to talk about forgiveness.
Good time?
Yeah.
Because it's related. It's
related.
Okay.
'cause
Good timing.
We were
Okay.
talking
Good timing.
about
I thought like
It's a good time.
Good time to talk about forgiveness in the summer.
No, because
The season.
because we're talking about the root cause.
I got it now, but like, yeah.
He just wants to shut me up. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not shutting you up. I said I got what she meant. The timing, not the time.
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
I think that it's really tricky when you're identifying that the reason you are the way you are or the way you think could be based off of how people treated you as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you identify that, there's a lot of anger that comes up because you're like, it's hard. Like you're saying a brother, I don't think I'd hold. Like I can think of things my
it's mostly
sister,
parents.
it's mostly parental because your brother didn't know better. You know what I mean? Like if I can think of things my sister did and I'm like,
I tried to pick your brother because you don't have a brother. So you don't actually take it from a personal experience.
you don't, okay.
So I'm saying, from example, someone said something and actually hurted you.
Okay.
You're actually hurt now. How do you move on from this hurt
You're gonna
that
talk to
happened to
them.
you when you were a child?
You're going to talk to them.
So you
The
talk
first
to
thing you're
them and
gonna
you tell
do-
them you were wrong, or you just forgive
You
them
never
and you
say
move
you were
on?
wrong. You never say you're wrong. So this is what happens when you're hurt. And I'm not going to say this is the right way to approach it, but this is how I was taught to approach things.
But you're
You're
still
gonna-
seeing therapy.
A therapist. Yes. Yeah.
So you're not cured yet. You're not fixed.
The
There's
work
no
never
fixing.
stops.
The work never stops.
stops.
Yeah.
That's never.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So it
good.
never stops because they need to always get paid.
No, because you never stop growing, you never stop feeling,
This
and you
got
never
No,
stop
but like-
money on his mind.
No.
Even in the emotion.
Therapy is giving you tools so you can fix your problems and future problems and whatever. Because that's
So-
what a tool does. A tool, like let's go construction. A tool can fix this bed and any bed you would buy in the future.
And the bed may break
So
again.
it's not an actual, break again, and then you can fix it with this tool. So you don't need to buy the tool again.
Exactly.
But therapy doesn't work this way.
It does.
Because
No.
you're not a bed.
Because they don't actually give you the tool.
But you're not a bed. You're
So
not
I'm
a
about
wooden
I'm
frame.
about to give you the tool.
Okay.
When you identify,
How
first
big
thing you're
is
gonna do. Well, oh my gosh, juicy. So when you identify,
That's what she said. I had to. I couldn't. I had to.
So when this guy, now we've got him.
I've been waiting my whole life for this moment.
So when you identify,
I'm wearing a blazer. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's the magician blazer.
It's giving me comfort.
yeah,
Sorry.
you know you're good.
That's what she said.
I have a mug that says that's
Really?
what she said on it.
I love that.
My dad was visiting and I gave it and he's like looking at it and he's like, why would you get? I'm like, why do you know what it means?
Seriously, I was going to say that.
Okay. So the first thing you're gonna do when you identify as emotion, like an emotion in your body. So my brother hurt me. I feel hurt. I feel hurt. That's it. I'm understanding the hurt. I'm gonna decide, is this hurt that I feel I can understand on my own, or do I need to talk to my brother about it? I've decided I feel I need to talk to my brother about it. We're gonna remove shame from that, because we oftentimes can feel like, but it's been so long, you know, it's childhood, he should have. But no, you've identified that this is something you need to talk about. Let's follow through with that. When you sit with him, you're not going to say, you hurt me, you did this wrong. I don't know why you would ever do this. You should have known better, and da-da-da-da. No one is going to respond to that. No one's going to hear that and be like, oh my gosh, you've made me like enlightened. They're going
So
to be
role
like,
play with me. I'm your brother.
perfect.
Now you're,
So
how
I'm
old are
gonna-
you? No,
I'm
let's,
20.
Let's
I'm in
explain
my
this to the
20s.
audience, because we know what's going on. The audience might lost a little bit. You're 26 now. At the age of 9, I'm your brother. I said something and really hurt you. We never spoke about it. Now you're 26. You got an advice from a therapist for how much does it cost? The advice?
It
How much?
depends.
Seriously, like how much?
Like 150 a session.
150 a session. How many problems can you talk about in a session?
It depends, JC.
It depends. So let's say this problem.
Bring your scroll.
This tool costs you like $50, and someone told you should talk to me about it now after I was 9 and I said something that hurt you. Now we're both 26, 27, and you want to ask me, you want to have a conversation about it.
Yes.
So I called you a bitch.
'Kay.
When I was your brother.
'Kay.
Because we're not really role played, so I can understand.
Yeah.
And I'm
So-
seriously out of respect. Like I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning.
100%. I respect
So now
that.
have the conversation with
Okay.
me.
So I'm going to talk to you and I'm going to say, recently I did some inner work and I reflected and I remembered an experience that we had together when I was 9. I want you to know that I'm coming from a place of love when I share this with you. I'm not coming from a place of judgment. I know that
okay.
we were kids.
It's okay.
And I know that your intention probably was not to hurt me, and you probably have no idea that this even happened, but I feel the need to express it to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
You called me a bitch when I was 9. See, I can't relate to this experience.
No,
You called me
we're
a
role
bitch.
playing. Get serious. I'm your
Yeah.
brother now. I'm
Okay.
reacting like I'm listening to you.
Okay. You called me a bitch when I was 9. It made me feel hurt. It made me feel dismissed, and it made me feel betrayed.
I'm really sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for sitting with me and having this conversation. That's it. It's that simple. You didn't get defensive. You
But
didn't get.
how did this conversation
It allowed you to
impact
feel
on
seen.
your brother? You're reminding your brother,
Not my responsibility.
kind
But
of
it's not about
blaming.
him.
But I was
It's about
9.
her.
So
I
I'm
was
not-
no. I
I'm-
want to
I'm-
finish the role play, please. I want to finish the role play.
'Kay.
So I was 9 when I said this to you.
Mhm.
You decided to have this conversation with me 20 years later.
Mhm.
But why did you feel like you need to remind me that when I was 9, over 16 years ago, I called you a bitch? Do you want me to feel a certain way? Is there like a revenge?
So that's a question for yourself. So you're showing signs of defensiveness.
No,
and that-
I'm role playing.
Yeah,
no,
yeah, it is
I'm
a role play.
So I'm showing.
I'm still in
No, no,
role.
no. I'm
That's what I'd
asking.
say.
I'm asking a question for you. Don't tell me this question for yourself. I'm asking you. How does this conversation make
I'm
you
not
feel
answering
better?
that question. That's
Why
what I'm
not?
telling you. It's not my responsibility to be
So
responsible
that's
for
what
your
therapy
emotions.
teach you, to not answer questions. You're
What
not
I'm
capable of
telling you is
answering.
this.
You're no. You decided to have a conversation with your brother and bring back a memory that he didn't even think of. You are dealing with it. He's not dealing with
Yep.
it. You decide. So he's asking you a question. If you decide to sit someone down, you need to be able to maintain a conversation.
So what I'm saying
and
is
maintain
this.
conversation, answer
What
questions.
I'm saying is this. One, your inability to take accountability for that
I
experience.
said sorry, but I'm
There
asking
you
you a
go.
question after the sorry.
I'm
because,
answering you.
because I really think it's inappropriate to
Okay, pause.
say bitch. I was
Pause.
9.
Pause.
Okay.
Pause. We're no longer role playing. We're stepping
No,
out
no,
of the
we're
role
role playing.
No, we're not.
If you can't finish a role play, so you can't have a conversation.
I have done the role
No,
play.
you can't. I know people that someone sat them down and told them, you did this to me 10 years ago, but 10 years ago I was a fucking kid still learning.
Exactly.
And
So
but
the
why
point
would
is-
you?
She
No,
forgives
but
you.
like this person's hurt now because I'm taking a blame that you've been hurt because of me for 10 years.
Okay. Can I ask you a question? Yeah? Okay. Why are you upset at yourself at something you did 16 years ago?
Because
when
it
you
caused
didn't
my
know better?
sister pain for more
But you
than
were
10
a
years.
different person back then.
But still, it still caused my sister
So
that I
do you feel
love
guilt?
10 years. I do now.
So that's what she's saying.
But I
It's
didn't
a
before.
So that's what I'm saying.
I didn't know, but you caused this guilt.
No, I
never.
didn't.
No, it was your action.
No one
You're
i-
guilting
no
from
one-
the action of what
I
you
was
did.
9 years old, so you're coming.
No
So
one-
it's revenge.
JC, no one is responsible for my emotions. No one is responsible for your. Let me speak.
So why you're
Let me
sitting me
speak.
down and telling me how you feel?
Let me speak. No one is responsible for your emotions.
Okay.
So when you're telling me I feel guilty for that, I can ask, why? Why do you feel guilty? You can say, because I didn't mean to hurt you. It's okay. I forgive you.
No,
I
it's not
see
what I
you.
could say. I'll tell you why I feel guilty. Because you sat me down now and you told me you've been going through shit
So
for 15
explain
years.
why you feel guilty.
Because you've been going through shit for 15 years because a word
It's
I said
okay.
I was 9 years old.
I wasn't aware of it for 15 years. I was only made aware of it recently when I decided to start talking about it with my therapist and we went back in time. I remembered that. If I had remembered it sooner, I would have talked to you about it then.
So
It
my
was never.
apology helped you?
Yes.
That's what you think will help you to move on, an apology from the person.
Yes. In this case,
Acknowledgement.
if this was the
Acknowledgement.
Really?
acknowledgement.
An
It's not the
apology,
apology.
an apology for a word I said at 9 years old helped you to move
So
on.
okay, so in therapy, we'd identify this as invalidation.
If a, ther- if a therapist gave this tool, I would tell the therapist, shove it up your ass. You should forgive people
And
without
that's
saying
okay.
sorry.
That's your
No,
opinion.
no,
That's
you should.
okay.
No, no, no.
Well,
This,
oh,
not,
yeah,
this is
you
not my
can- you
opinion.
can-
This,
that's
doesn't, this
fine.
doesn't make sense. And the proof to it that you're still in therapy.
No.
Because you didn't get enough
JC,
tools to
no.
move on. No, it's not. No, that's my opinion. That's your
That's-
opinion.
that's
and we're
your-
talking out
no,
of love. She knows
no.
I care about her.
No.
She knows how much I care about her. But if you want to move on, I don't want to sit someone down, cause them enough pain for them to go to therapy just so I can move on and they can tell me, yes, I'm sorry. They will definitely feel guilty if you told them, I was 9, you caused me hurt, and I've been hurt. Now I'm 26. Because of you, I didn't reach what I want to reach in life just because you said this word to me and it took you that long, you fucking
No, that's
idiot,
not-
to
that's
tell
not
me
what
sorry.
you said.
She
This
said.
conversations, that's what it means. You wanted my sorry to move on. Now you said, you admitted, you said I moved on because you said sorry.
No, it was also about her expressing it and not having to keep it inside. And it's okay for you to.
So
to
she
view
can
it
she
that
can
way.
she can just forgive me
Let's-
and call
okay,
me
I will-
an
I will
immature
pull-
person called her this without causing this person pain. What I'm saying is just forgive this person, find an excuse for this person, forgive them, move on.
But sometimes talking about it allowed her to
So
forgive
you
them.
you started.
She talked
It's
about
a
it.
different thing for each person.
'Kay.
Therapy does
Listen,
different things for
listen.
each one.
Thank you for sharing your perspective. I respect your
Thanks for
perspective.
listening.
Okay. When you are dealing with your inner child, and if you identify that it does need to be spoken about, don't have shame about it. Realize that there needs to be a conversation around that experience, and then decide how you would like to move forward. Speak about it with your therapist. Get it, you know, it's a hard thing to bring up, and it's not fun for anyone. And I think that's what you were trying to explain, is that after 16 years, you're bringing up an experience that I didn't even remember, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for everyone. So in that, you want to approach it, and usually this happens with parents, not siblings. So, and it can happen with siblings. I had clients who were assaulted or whatever that may be, you will have to have certain conversations at some point. But if it's with your parents, that's usually a harder conversation because they were adults and you were a child.
Exactly. It's the accountability.
Yes. And so when we're talking about forgiveness, I don't believe that forgiveness, you need to have an apology to forgive someone.
Yep.
I don't believe you even have to speak to someone to have forgiveness. I've had people wrong me, and it's been 6 years, and I've forgiven, and I've never heard back from them. I've never spoken to them. And it's funny because oftentimes I forgive and I've forgiven, and then they come with an apology like years down the line, and they're like, I'm so sorry I did that. And I've moved
on,
past
yeah.
it. So when you're working with the inner child and you're in a position where you're faced with your parents, let's just say, and you're bringing up things, what you were talking about is how you forgive after that. When you realize all this anger and you're like, what happened? No one in their conscious mind will inflict pain on another human. It's not a conscious action to inflict pain. It's a subconscious action.
Sometimes it's their own defense mechanism.
That's what I'm saying. It's a subconscious.
Identifying with the aggressor and hurting you back. But the thing with the siblings and the parents is because a parent's main job is to protect their child.
Yeah.
So when a parent fails to do that, you can't help but wanting to hold that person accountable, because that had implications on you, negative implications. When my parent does not protect me, I had to be put in situations that I should not have been in a child. And there's a certain expectation from me that's unfair right now, because I'm supposed to take care of myself. I'm supposed to fend for myself in a world where I have not been given the tools to do so. And who do I blame? First thing that comes to mind is to blame the parent. And that is a defense mechanism on its own. But then it's also realizing that they're not perfect. They didn't know. They did the best with what they could at the time. And it's reminding and it's a very hard thing to do, honestly, but it's reminding ourselves that our parent was going through other things as well. It's not like everything in their life was muted and all they had to do was, oh, let me protect my child. And you know what? I don't really feel like doing it today. They're going through an identity crisis. They may be going through financial issues. They may be going through marital issues. And then, you were just like collateral damage.
So after you have this conversation with yourself, which is what you said is amazing. Thank you so much. You said, okay, my parents were going through this and this and this. Do you still feel the need of sitting them and talking to them? Honestly, or you already automatically forgave them?
So personally, it depends on if that behavior is continuing. Because if it's continuing, then it's continuing to hurt me and I need it to stop.
If it's not continuing?
If it's not continuing to hurt me, then I feel like it's less painful for them and maybe a little bit more painful for me to just let it go.
So and it's going to be painful.
It will be painful for them. So I will let it go.
That's what I've been saying.
Yeah, but it's still paining me because I didn't get closure. Because as a child, even when I grow up, if I remember it, I'm like, but why?
I think, JC, where you're coming from is empathy. Is
like
that
you
have
empathy for your
parent.
All I'm saying, we can just create an excuse, and I'm sure everyone who said something wrong to us 10 years ago and not continuing on doing the same thing again and again, and they're not hurting us at the moment, they had their excuse. So try to think. I was talking about this to Val today. If you want to talk to your coworker about something they were late to deliver, try to find why they were late. Yep. If I just want to talk and win the argument of you were late for a reason, you're wrong. Make up for it.
Go into a conversation like that.
And I asked the other, like they were having a conversation. I'm like, why you were late? Within the words, I heard that he was doing something he's not asked to do, so he was doing extra work. That's what made him late. So, anyways, we end up forgiving each other, moving on without anyone's feeling guilty. Yeah. So. All I'm saying, you want to move on, but don't cause people other pain. I've seen people get crying, crushed because they've been called out on things they did 15 years ago, and they couldn't stand up back on their feet.
But you don't think accountability is important?
Accountability, if you're still doing what, if this person is still hurting you until now, sit down and talk.
That's what I'm saying.
Because now you're ready to have a conversation, but this person already stopped, improved, and stopped hurting you. You didn't have this conversation in the past. You tell yourself, they were going through something. That's why they said what they said. Now they are actually good people to me. Forgive them for it. Move on. Your accountability for what? The person is not still doing the same mistake. So should I sit Val and every day tell her, do you remember when you first started first month with working with us? Then she'll quit.
No. And I think that you are totally coming from a place of empathy with your approach, and I think that's really healthy. I think that you're thinking of the other person, and you're like, it shows that you have a heart, and it shows that when you approach situations, you don't just think about yourself. You're like, if I bring this up for them, how will it make them feel?
How will it affect them?
How am I hurting them? And you hold yourself to a high standard.
I've been on both ends.
Exactly.
I've confronted people that they're older than me 30 years. I made them fucking cry.
Exactly.
And it did not help them. It didn't help our conversation the second day when I sat down and I saw them. But when I created an excuse and I forgive them, it was way easier for me to move on way faster and to improve way faster and live with more peace.
That works for you.
That's what I'm saying. Is
it doesn't work for everyone.
No, it works for everyone. Move on if you hurt someone else.
It doesn't. It's very situational. It's based on that situation. And you're right in saying is this still taking place today? So
Yeah.
that's why, like,
That's a very good point.
the
That's
one
a very
that,
valid point.
the
yeah.
one that you mentioned where it's like, my brother called me a bitch. I personally would not go see my brother and
Yeah, me
say,
neither.
you called me a bitch, because I think that that's me being a victim, to be very honest with you. However, if there was a certain family situation that repetitively
okay.
kept happening, and I'm like, this is really hurting me. Like, I need to voice this, and we're gonna have to bring up past from 15 years ago. Like, Dad, remember when I was a kid and this is still happening now? Or Mom, remember when this and it's still happening now? It's gonna hurt. But that's why you open that conversation with always, I'm coming from a place of love for you. And even starting that conversation with, not, I'm coming from a place of love. So this is everything that I feel you did wrong, but thank you for showing up for me in these ways. Thank you for sitting with me and giving
Mention
me your
the good
time.
things,
Yes,
the good days.
yes,
Yes.
Because, and it's
Very
the same thing in a
smart.
relationship. Anytime I sit a partner down, I try, not perfect. Maybe sometimes I skip past that part, but I try to be aware to say, I'm coming from a place of love right now. Thank you for sitting here with me and giving me your time. How are you right now? Do you feel like you can talk right now?
Yeah, that's very important.
That is so, that's my biggest pet peeve in life, when people just approach, I want to talk to you. Did I, like, whoa, calm down, because you don't know what's happening in that person's day. I could go up to JC and be like, blah, 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 blah. I try to be like, do you have the energy to hear what I have to share
Mental
with you right now?
capacity
Yeah.
right now, yeah.
Can you? No? That's on you to take care of. You can't have a fit and be like, what do you mean you can't talk to me right now?
People
That's on you.
don't
You have
need to always be
self-soothe.
accessible to you.
So when you're approaching that person, saying, do you feel like you can talk right now? And they say yes, okay. I understand that what I'm about to share is going to be really hard to hear, and I share it out of love. This is the narrative. This is the story I'm telling myself based off of these actions. So you did this, and the story I've created in my mind towards these actions is this, and this is how it's made me feel. That's it. That allows, you're giving that person the opportunity to, one, no longer hurt you, because no one inflicts pain on purpose. They're not aware of that. So they're like, and usually people will get defensive. I didn't mean to do that. Like, da-da-da. It's about saying, I know you didn't mean to. I know you're a good person. I know you don't mean to inflict pain on me. But what I'm saying is, I require feeling validated and seen. So if you could just say, I'm sorry, and I will be aware of that in the future, and that's it. And sometimes conversations are, this is very surface level, but it goes deeper than that. That's the way that I would approach a conversation that's really hard. That's how after 5-6 years of therapy, was taught to. And in the past, I was the opposite person, who was argumentative, defensive. I didn't have space or time for your emotions. And I wasn't going to sit here and listen to everything I did wrong, because I'm always right. And that was the ego that I carried myself with. And I had to really, when you start healing, you have to go back in time. So I felt, apologize, and say, I take accountability for being an ass, and it wasn't a reflection of you. And that was a reflection of my pain at that time.
That's the thing. Most of the times when we're angry at people or we're angry at ourselves, we need to realize that the way someone acts towards us, whether it's good or bad, it's a reflection of how they feel within themselves. It's not necessarily how they feel about us. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that gives you a lot of peace of mind, and it helps letting go of anger and resentment and moving more to a place of forgiveness and understanding.
Yeah, people need to stop taking on other people's
like, it's not
emotions.
My responsibility that you felt that way or acted. Maybe you're going through something. If I can be of support, if I can make it easier for you in any way, I'm here for it. But if not, it does not have to negatively impact me as well. Yeah. Love is not measured by how much you tolerate.
No, love is not enough. Yeah. No, just because you love someone does not mean I'm going to tolerate. Exactly. If I will love you to my core, I will provide where I can provide as a woman. The minute that I sense something, I'm so in tune with myself. I know what I like and what I don't like, and what I allow and what I don't allow in a relationship. The minute that takes place, I'll let you know. I'm not going to lead you on. I'm not going to you're going to do it. I'm going to be like, don't ever suppress. That's the worst thing. Be like, okay, I won't say anything. No, say something. Be like, I didn't like that.
But do you think everything needs to be talked about?
No, you need to also stop being a victim. Yeah. Not everything, if you always think everything's about you and everything.
It's egocentric.
Yeah, it's egocentric. The world does not revolve around you. Yeah. But I'm talking about when you've identified, for instance, I'm at home, I've had a long day at work, I'm cooking dinner. You come in, throw your shit inside the house, slam the door. I'm like, whoa, first tune in. My immediate reaction is to get defensive because that's your body's mechanism to be like, you don't want to be like, what the fuck is going on? You know, you never want to, soothe, turn, what do you need right now? I need space. Give them space.
Yeah.
Reevaluate. You cannot have a conversation with somebody who is at peak temperature in their body. They're allowed to be. That's the other thing. People take frustration as a red flag. Frustration is a human emotion, but you have to know how to regulate it. If that person comes out, fuck you, they start yelling, whoop, no, that's not okay. That's a boundary. You've crossed my boundary. I'm going to tell you once, do not yell at me. If it happens again, out. Doesn't matter if I love you. People change, and that's another thing I want to touch on. A lot of people, myself included in the past, we're going to use the yelling excuse because we were just talking about that. Let's just say a family member yells at me. I'm talking yelling. I step away. That's one of my personal boundaries. Do not yell. I step away. I would cut them off forever. There was no changing that person.
She does hate yelling.
I do not like yelling. Anyways, and so I step back into that 3 years later, and they approach me and they say, I'm sorry for what I did. Before I would be like, I'm never forgetting that. I didn't trust because I didn't have the tools. Sorry, I keep touching it. I don't have the tools.
It's not gonna break. Don't worry.
I don't have the tools in my toolbox to forgive you. You know, I don't feel safe enough in my own existence to like provide a space where I can see that you've changed and grown and evolved, and I can hold that for you. But anytime I share a relationship with somebody where I've realized that we are incompatible at this time, I part that relationship depending on what happened in it. There's some things that you need to actually remove that person from your life. But I usually part that relationship with, I entered this relationship viewing you in your highest self. I exit it still the same. Your actions lately have shown me that right now, currently, you cannot meet my needs in this relationship. However, I leave the door open in the future for when you feel, you know my needs, you know what they are, I've made them clear. When you feel like you can reach those, contact me, you know? I need space to forgive you. I won't always hate you. I won't always hold this against you, but I need to, for fairness for both of us, I need to step away and tune in and be like, live out my anger, live out whatever it is I feel to be fair to you as well. Because when someone wrongs you and they take accountability, it is then in your control to move past it. Once accountability is taken, you can't keep saying, but you did this, but you did this, but you did this.
Just because you're not fair.
If they don't, no.
You can't move on. You can't go past it.
I can, but you won't be in my life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
you have to go past it. Yeah.
But you can or you have?
You have to.
But you can't?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to. You have to and you can.
So even if they don't admit their mistakes, you can still
Oh my goodness, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
But for you to keep them in your life, they need to admit their mistakes.
They need to take accountability.
And that's if they're still doing the mistakes, not like if they stopped long time ago.
In this specific situation, if like we broke up because of that mistake and you come back and don't acknowledge the mistake at all, then
it's a
I'm
waste,
not I'm not spending my time here. But if you say, I acknowledge that I did this, and this, and I can confidently say to you that I've changed these ways and I can prove, like I will show that to you, I think that's fair.
That's mature.
Because acknowledgement is like the receipt of the intention to not do this behavior
Very
again.
well said. Very well said. Yes.
Yeah.
Can you say it again?
Acknowledgement is like a receipt of the intention of not repeating that behavior again.
I love it.
That's beautiful.
Let's make it a quote.
That's why I said, say it again, because it's really good.
That's what she said.
It sounds...
Okay. So what is, like, why do some people hold on anger for so long? Anger can be exhausting. It can be draining. It is such a heavy thing to carry. But is it that we're more comfortable because we're so used to being angry and we identify as that? And I think we mentioned this, is that some people, they self-identify like with the trauma or with the victim mentality. Is it that it's easier, or is it this is the tool that we were equipped with, we learned it, monkey see, monkey do, it's like a model that we...
You don't know better. And at the time when you feel anger is a secondary emotion. So anger comes after a lot of other emotions. Usually it's unfairness. Usually when people feel angry and it's all of the sudden, usually it's like you get that tense and active and reactive. And then you calm down, but you still have that anger. There's something underneath that. It's like an iceberg. And you have to go deep and you have to figure out what that is, because a lot of people will ignore that. They react, so they let their anger out. They're like, ugh, and then they stay in the same situation. And it's just like, it's a repetitive cycle, you know? Or you end what you're saying, you have that relationship, you walk away, you're so angry, you don't do that work. What was unfair? What felt unfair to me? identifying those things that feel unfair. I think that holding anger for years is the inability to hold space for yourself to feel. Because anger is a suppressant.
Okay.
Anger makes you feel powerful.
Is it also like the ego as well? And
Yes.
I always come back to this because I feel like it's such a big
anger
obstacle.
Is protection.
Yeah.
You're protecting yourself. You know your worth. And that shouldn't have happened.
But do you? Do you?
You do.
When you're angry?
You do. But you're coming from a perspective of, in my opinion, maybe someone else would disagree.
Yeah.
Usually when we get angry, it's like you know that you deserve better than that. Or like what I did. Like if I walk up to JC and I say, fuck you, you're going to react because you're like, don't fucking disrespect me that way. That's him knowing his worth. He's not going to let people talk to him that way.
My respond doesn't mean I'm angry. This was respond, I'm putting you in your place, but doesn't mean I'm angry. So I'll give another example. So,
No, what are you talking about? We're cutting this well. I can't.
no, we don't cut this
I'm
one.
No, yeah, cut this. No.
Seriously?
Are your parents,
No, I can't.
Are your parents Lebanese?
Yeah.
Yeah, cut this shit.
No way.
But no.
Dad, see you later. We're gonna have a drink together.
Okay, so take home message. Before the take home message,
Yeah.
I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Do you believe you're a good person?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Take home message.
See how she answered right
Yeah.
away? We had guests, they didn't answer right away.
Oh, no, I'm a good person.
Good job.
Yes.
Okay, take away.
Do you believe you're a good person?
Yeah.
Do you?
Absolutely.
Good. Your best is always good enough. Never take advice from somebody you wouldn't trade places with.
Wow.
That's
Say
it.
that again. No, say that again.
Never take advice from somebody you would not trade places with.
Wow. Okay, that's
That's
a
what
wrap. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This was amazing.
Perfect.